Hi, my name's Neill, and I'm a PhD researcher at the UCD School of Psychology. And this presentation is focused on a study that was done as part of the YOULEAD program, which focuses on the predictors of psychological distress among young people engaging with Jigsaw. As a background to this study, in the past 15 years or so, there's been an international movement for youth mental health services, and these are for young people between the ages of 12 and 25. In Ireland, Jigsaw provides brief intervention support for young people, but there is a gap in the research surrounding these services in understanding the link between the reasons young people present to services and psychological distress. And this study looks to identify risk factors for psychological distress. In terms of the method for this study, we adopted a quantitative design with existing data from Jigsaw. We looked at the levels of psychological distress of young people who had engaged between 2013 and 2019, and we also looked at the presenting issues of young people who came to the service. Now, these presenting issues, we wanted to cluster them into meaningful factors because a lot of the items were related to each other and overlapped with each other. So there were several items, for example, that related to family, and when we ran a factor analysis, a factor called problems with family was generated in this analysis. We also had several other contextual factors such as problems with peers, school problems, trauma and physical health. And then we had other items that were more related to the type of distress a young person was experiencing or what they were going through. And these included items or factors relating to risk, more psychological factors, and then some behavioral factors as well. Looking to the results, the factors were poor predictors of the levels of psychological distress a young person would have. But there were some strong correlations between contextual factors and the types of distress or the manifestations of distress that a young person was experiencing. Problems with peers was the leading predictor or the strongest predictor of self-harm and suicidal behaviors. Problems in the family and trauma were predictors of behavioral issues such as acting out and risky behaviors. And younger people in this study showed that school problems were a predictor of acting out as well. And finally, for the more psychological issues like negative thoughts and self-criticism, problems with peers and trauma were leading predictors here. So the key points from this study was that contextual factors predicted manifestations of distress. They predicted different types of distress that young people experienced. And this is valuable knowledge for clinicians in understanding how the presenting issues of young people commonly relate to each other and how they relate to the different types of psychological distress a young person can go through. Thank you very much for listening.